How we getting on, folks? Look at today. Just really didn't go our way today in the free tips. Plenty of, I suppose, just unlucky runs and just horses getting caught out in deep ground. But on the Patreon, it really started to kick off. Dean, in fairness to him, that's why we have, I suppose, the two other lads on board. Dean came up with the goods there today with a lovely, lovely double. Rock on Barney came in, one of the followers had a 10-1, drifted out from 7-1 into 15-2, went off at, and put up a lovely, lovely tip there with Kilcruit to just absolutely romp away with the victory. Moving on now to tomorrow, we are really looking forward to this now. Punchestown and Cork, two tracks that I have boasted some very, very healthy strike rates around in the past. Just cast your minds back there to the last meeting in Cork where we managed to pick out of 7 races. I think there was 5 winners in a second. That was tipped up at an each way price as well. So overall, I think we are looking to be on a very, very successful day tomorrow. I suppose, look, we may as well kick things off with the big race the big race meeting of the day with Punchestown. First race off there is the 12:35. I'm really liking Emmett Mullen's charge here now with Sneaky Getaway. Currently priced around 5-2. Look, we know the ground is going to be heavy and we know it's going to be a bit of a slog, but this Sneaky Getaway definitely does appreciate a bit of juice in the ground. Overall, I think it's like Punchestown is known to be more so of a galloping track than a track that I suppose focuses more on jumping aspect more so than galloping and on the racing on the flat more so than anything else. So when you put it all into perspective, Sneaky Getaway definitely does hold plenty of aces now tomorrow. I think 5-2 is great value. Look at it, it's coming up against a nice enough sort from the Jessica Harrington team, but with all due respect to Jessica, like she sort of hit the ground a bit slow in the national hunt scene. Although, look, there is plenty of time for her to start picking things off now again. But I'd just be wary enough at 13-8 for the Jessica Harrington favourite tomorrow. I don't know. It's just not really screaming great value here now for me, personally speaking, tomorrow. Moving on then to the 110. I really like the look of Sky Ace here at 12-1 for an each way shout. Look at Finest Evermore is going to be very, very hard to beat, and it goes without saying there's a reason why it is 8-11 odds on, but I'd rather be, I suppose, in the Sky Ace camp than against it. I've been against it a couple of times, even though I did put it up as one of the mares to follow this year, and every time that I have been against it, it's proved to bite me in the backside, basically. Last day, 66-1 winner in Down Royal. Very, very to be quite honest with you, I was very, very upset with myself. I definitely think, look at it's going to run she is going to run a very good race, and she is going to put it up to, I suppose, this Finest Evermore, but it's hard to see her winning. But I definitely think at an each way shout, Sky Ace is definitely one of the ones to be on, to be perfectly honest. Moving on into the 140, the John Durkin, we are going to avoid it simply because I have my patron, I suppose, tip for this particular race tomorrow. I'm going to keep it, I suppose, loyal to the patron followers simply because they are contributing every month to help out the podcast. But I leave a link in the description below for you to look into it. It's been well researched. I definitely think it's got a great chance of winning tomorrow. Now, moving on into the 110, we are going to go with the Great White here for Dermot McLaughlin here, and each way shout at 7-1. Personally speaking, I think this one has a great chance. It was very unlucky last time out. It was fourth in a fairly hot handicap. It was very, very interesting, but overall, I definitely think this horse is well primed. It looked like it had a good run in him last time out, but it just, I suppose, faded out in the end. I think it'll be all the more better really for it, that particular run. So I would be expecting a good run, and I definitely think it's 7-1. It is a Hanichwe shout, so I definitely would be taking my chance and going on each way more so than going for the favourite here. Moving on then to the 240, we are going to go with Jungle Junction here now, currently priced around 7-2. Now this one here is coming up against Captain Guinness. Look at, if Captain Guinness shows up on the day, we definitely will be looking at a very, very easy winner. But I don't know, I just can't seem to warm to Captain Guinness personally. The way it pulled up in Tipperary the last day, I know it was down to an injury. Was very worrying, but I think it went off at something like 1-2 or 1-3 that particular day. So look at, backing it odds on, you are, I suppose, taking a risk. We know it is a little bit fragile. It would definitely need to jump very, very well tomorrow to be able to win. I think Jungle Junction, as well as that, it's going to love the ground. It's going to love this particular track. It was a very decent bumper winner in Navan there last year, or not last year, I think it was the year before. But it turned out to be a fairly decent hurdler, and it's definitely a nice looking chaser in the making. Overall, I definitely think it has a great, great shout. Moving on then to the 310, we are going to go with an each way shout here now. Highest benefit at 16-1. This is going to be the next best for an each way shout here now. Coming from the Willie Austin team, Willie Austin obviously owns it as well. The team are in absolutely flying form. All you have to do is look at the likes of all the chimneys. Crack on Corrie as well was a very impressive winner in Clonmel there earlier on this week. And I definitely think highest benefit the fact that it was second last time out. Behind a very much improving sword for David Dunn, Vodka Society that particular day. It was very, very well handicapped that day, so there wasn't a horse that was going to beat it that particular day. But it ran a very considerable race, and the fact that it was second, you could nearly class it as winning a race in itself, basically. I definitely think 16-1 is a bit of an insult. The fact that the yard is in form and the fact that the yard is banging out winners left, right and centre, I definitely think an each way shout at 16-1 is definitely well worth getting on. Moving on then to the last race of the day, the 340, we are going to go with Ask As Luck Would Have It. This is going to be the nap of the day for me. We're saving the best to last. Patrick Mullins for Willie Mullins in the bumper. It's a storyline often written. It's definitely, look at one of the more interesting ones here. It's homebred, it's home owned. Well, it's not homebred or home owned, but it's owned by the breeder basically. So obviously, there's two ways you could look into that. Either it didn't sell in the sales, or else the breeder bred it to intended to race. And I definitely think it's the latter. Basically, it's well bred. It looks like it's got plenty of capabilities. The fact that it is trained in Willie Mullins as well definitely speaks volumes of what this particular breeder intends it to do. If I suppose it was just going for fun, they'd be going to a mediocre trainer, to be quite honest. But the fact that they're going to the leading national hunt trainer, it definitely speaks volumes in my personal opinion. I think they've found a nice race for it, and I definitely think 6-4 is well worth getting on. Moving on then to Cork. It's an interesting sort of a card. There's not really great value out there, but I suppose there is potential value there. The first race off 11:45. I'm going to take a chance here now with Sean Flanagan's mount. Curious Bride at 5-2. Rated 80 on the flat. If it turns its form into hurdles like it nearly should do, it definitely looks like it's a nice enough sort. It should be well capable of winning a race of this calibre. It's not the best quality of races, and it's not one that I necessarily encourage people to jump in on board. But I definitely think, if you're looking for value there, you know Noel Meade is in serious form, and you know Sean Flanagan is one of the better men to be having on the horse's back, basically. I definitely think it's definitely got a nice sort of a shout here now. A fairly nice price of 5-2. Moving on then to the 12:20, we are going to take I suppose it's not really a chance, but we're going to take a bit of a risk here now, going with such a short odds. Joseph Conrad here, 11-10, looks to be the more likelier winner of the whole field, personally speaking. Gordon Elliott, look at who's on flying form there in Navan there today. I definitely think it is the best horse in this particular race. It's not really the strongest meeting for real top quality, although we are looking at potentially the champion chase winner now later on in the card, but we will get to that. Look, there's not really much to be said. It looks like the best horse of the race. It's still a fairly nice price. It's just over even money, so if you're going to be having a bet, the best you could really do is double your money, and I think that's exactly what you're going to do tomorrow. Moving on then to the 12.52, we are going to go with the next best of the day, Master McShee at 7-4. Looks to be the one to be on, personally speaking. It was second last time out at 50-1. I think it was in Punchestown that particular day. I definitely think, when you put it all into perspective, the only way is up, and the only way it can go is improve. If that's the case, I definitely think it's got a great shout, and overall 7-4 looks to be great value. I know it's not 50-1, but you're still looking at potentially one of the more lenient marks and one of the more potential improvers for things to come, basically. Moving on then to the 125. Look at Shaq and Poursois. If Shaq and Poursois turns up as Shaq and Poursois, he's going to walk away with this particular field. I definitely think it's a no-bet race. Obviously, the fact that he is 4-11, I don't think there's anything in the field that's going to trouble him. Possibly Cashback, maybe, but Cashback's a bit of a lunatic, and he just seems to nosedive at his fences more so than anything else. He'd need to jump an awful lot better to trouble Shaq and Poursois, who is known to take lengths out of the field in his jumping, and I think potentially, if he stays sound, he is going to win the champion chase now next year. Moving on then to the 155, we're going to go with the nap of the day. Personally speaking, for me, I think Western Victory at 2-1 definitely speaks volumes of great value. Definitely looks to be the most classiest horse of the race. I know, there's a couple of Willie Mullins horses coming in here that do look to be potentially good quality, but they wouldn't necessarily want better ground, and they wouldn't necessarily want to be a little better treated coming into this particular race. Western Victory loves softer ground. Western Victory is a sound jumper, and Western Victory is overall the best horse in the particular race when you look at all things considered. Trained by Declan Queally, they're not necessarily neighbours, but they're only up the road from Mallow. I definitely think they'll have the horse well primed. And although I said Shaq and Poursois was a no-bet race, I think you could move up the value there. And I suppose if you're looking for a nice double, I think Western Victory will definitely boost up the value for Shaq and Poursois. I think it pays something like 3-1 for the double. So that's, you're paying for an extra pint. But I think Shaq and Poursois is as good as certain, and Western Victory looks to be definitely the nap of the day. I definitely think, when you put all things considered, it definitely looks to be one of the more likelier ones. Moving on then to the 230, it's one of the patron tips. It's Dean's patron tip, but we're going to bypass that simply because we want to keep patron to patron, basically, and we want to respect the people that are contributing to the podcast itself. But 3 o'clock, we are going to go with Pike County here, or Pike Country, at 13-8. This one here looked a certain winner last time out, bar fallen. Looks well handicapped, looks in great form. I definitely think it's not going to stay around 13-8. It should really go off odds on. It's clearly the best horse in the race, and I definitely think overall you're looking at great value there at 13-8. You certainly won't get that tomorrow. Moving on then to the 330, the last race of the day, and I'm going to take a bit of a chance here now and go with the pretty large favourite here, but Dragon's Pass for Sean Flanagan, possibly. It's a bit of a chance, and it is a bit of a risk, but overall I think the horse is particularly the best horse in the particular race, and I think if you are having a bet tomorrow, 5-1 is great each way value. I think they're paying a quarter the odds So even if you are backing the favourite, you're still better off going for an each way shout. I don't know why they're only paying a quarter the odds, simply because people who are going to back favourites and back for each ways, if the favourite places, you're still getting profit. So at the end of the day, look, you're better off going for each way, and I definitely think it's crazy what these bookmakers are doing, allowing these favourites at such big odds to be at each way of value. Really, favourites shouldn't be at each way of value. For bookmakers' sake, you want, I suppose, the favourites to be shorter than the fractions that you're offering. That's my personal opinion anyway. That's what I'd be trying to do if I was a bookmaker. I think they are making a mistake offering a quarter the odds for 5 to 1 or above for favouritism. If I was them, I'd probably give maybe 5 places at a fifth of the odds just to cover my back. But I definitely think Dragon Pass at 5 to 1 for a winner last time out and Sean Flanagan on board, I definitely think it's well worth getting on board. But look, that's all the racing for tomorrow in Ireland. Please make sure to keep liking, sharing, subscribing. Hopefully, with the help of God, we'll be able to turn the corner now tomorrow. We've had a bit of bad form, but we're not going to rest on our laurels. For those who want to join the Patreon account, we've done our research and we've done our calculations. I think for the 1 point stake that we've put up for every single tip that we've posted, the returns are plus 14 point, I think 3-2, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. We're definitely over the 14 point mark for profit. That's not just overall returns, that's in profit. So look, at the end of the day, if you're betting €1 stakes, you've already next month's subscription covered. It's a tenner a month. We've done our research. We are, if not the cheapest, we're one of the cheapest out there. And with, I suppose, proven we are capable of giving back to members and, I suppose, paying back the subscription that they put into us. It's definitely, look, it's less than a box of fags and it's just over 2 pints per month. So you could be doing plenty worse with your money. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to get on board. I know it's not for some and it is for some. Nobody's forced at the end of the day. But we would be very grateful for the help that you'd be offering for us. Like I said, I'll leave a link in the description below. Don't forget to go over to the Irish Racing Hour and subscribe to the channel over there. The podcast going up tomorrow is with Sean Flanagan. I think there has been a bit of video trouble. I think for my side of things, I think my head has been cut off for the video. I don't know, is that Skype telling me that I've only a face a mother would love, but whatever happened anyway, at least look at it, it's teething problems. It's only our second podcast, but the audio is still good, and overall I think it's a much better audio compared to the first one, and better confidence and everything else like that. So hopefully, look, at we're going to keep improving and keep getting good guests on board. Plenty of good honest tips coming from Sean Flanagan's side of things. So for those racing fans, definitely it's well worth tuning in for. I'm going to leave it there. I've been Shane Rooney. Thanks very much. Please make sure to keep liking, sharing, subscribing. And if you want to take a look at the Patreon account, I'll leave a link in the description below. Thanks very much.